We're gonna start over, guys. So, Deanna and Nisha, just shh for a bit while I start this over and pretend like nothing happened. And we're back. Yes, this is Zach from RPG Site. We're kicking off episode 2 of Anime Review, our weekly anime podcast where we cover the shows that we've been watching this past week and also any events that might be happening at that time. So joining me, as always, is Nusha.
Hey, yes, it's me for the first time.
For the first time. Don't call it a comeback. And Deanna's also here.
Hey everyone.
Heyo. So yeah, we're gonna totally pretend that nothing just happened, that everything's been going perfectly fine, that we haven't been able to, we're not having trouble trying to figure out the audio issues with our podcast. It's all great. And so, I'm not even going to talk about Mario Tennis Aces because I think I'm already tired of talking about it.
We're just gonna skip my week.
you know, sometimes it's great. Your week wasn't important. It's okay. Nothing was going on. It was uneventful. We're gonna just agree that you played some games, and that's awesome.
I understand.
You played Mario. You loved it, and you know you did. Deanna,
Grand old time.
I think everyone in chat, we're gonna interact more with chat because last time we didn't talk too much with the chat. We didn't interact with you guys that much, and I think we wanted to kind of change that up a little bit and make sure that we're interacting with you. Obviously, this is still an audio podcast, and so we'll keep that in mind, of course, for people out there who are listening to this. So for now, though, Deanna, what have you been up to? I think it's been more eventful than mine was.
Actually, I also just played games.
Awesome, sweet. That's awesome. What have you been playing?
Hollow Knight.
Hollow Knight. Oh my gosh! So we do another podcast, of course, RPG Site's weekly podcast, TetraCast. We have somebody who's been playing Hollow Knight. Have you been playing that on the Switch?
Yes, the Switch.
Oh my gosh! Apparently, it looks awesome on the Switch.
It looks fabulous. Like I mean, it's probably one of the harder games I've ever played. But I've probably played around 2-3 hours on it, so I heard it's a huge world, so I'm looking forward to exploring all those places.
Yeah. It's a gorgeous little Metroidvania kind of style game where the challenge is there, but it's also got a lot of hand-drawn art, and so it apparently looks really, really sharp on the Switch. And that's kind of the best part about owning that platform, is because it's sort of been a indie/port machine, kind of like the Vita was, so it's definitely fitting that replacement stigma that it has for that platform. So you have to tell us more about that when you get more into it. I've just been not doing a whole lot, honestly. It's kind of the same, playing games, and not a whole lot of games, actually. It's been mostly watching that Summer Games Done Quick marathon that's been on. I don't know if either of you guys watch that at all, but
No, I don't.
oh,
I
man.
don't.
It is so much fun to watch, seeing everything happening. The Final Fantasy VI run capped it off for the entire event, and that was like 7 hours. And so I stayed up until midnight watching that, totally forgetting that I didn't catch up on anime until like this morning. I'm like, oh, I should probably watch the shows that I didn't get around to seeing.
You watched this morning?
Some of them. I mean, I already watched a couple of the different episodes, but as you can probably tell, which kind of transitions us into the next little section that we've got here. It's kind of been wrapping up, you know. A lot of the shows from this past spring, there's still some stuff that's carrying over, of course, from our conversation last week. But for the most part, we're almost done. And so there's a lot for us to discuss this past week. I guess we should start like we did last time by talking about Megalo Box. So, yeah. Holy shit. It was a hell of a show. And I know that...
oh, that's perfect.
Yes, yes. let the tears flow.
Man.
It was that was the type of emotional rush that I was feeling watching that final episode, because it's been kind of funny the way this has been going, because Nushi, you and I we were sticking with it week by week. Deanna decided to kind of wait until near the end to catch up, sort of a binge watch, if you will, of the final episodes. And then this Thursday night is when they actually had the final episode, but on Friday, me and Deanna decided to watch it that night, and then Friday we were like, Nusha, what do you think? And he's like, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I like saving them for Saturday. I kind of have like my Saturday morning cartoon day, and so I just kind of stockpile all the episodes of everything until then.
Yeah, it's I get that feeling as well. That was the thing I liked most about when I used to have a Crunchyroll subscription, is that every Sunday I would, go to the store, come home, and just sit and watch anime all day. And that's kind of what I've
Yeah.
been doing so far. And so, let's talk. Let's talk about the final episode of Megalo Box. 'Cause boy, that was
A
different.
doozy. Yeah.
It was juicy. Yes, it was juicy. It was emotional. It was impactful. It kind of went off the rails a little bit, and so I kind of wanted to hear you guys' thoughts on your feelings. Let's talk about not just the final episode though, but your overall feelings. I know we talked a little about that last week, but this is probably the most important part, because the final episode, obviously, if it was going to go down weak, then I think that our opinions might have altered differently. But Deanna, what did you think about that final episode?
I actually expected a much more hyped fight, because I feel like they were building it up so much. But even then, I think when they started talking about the dance partner metaphor, it started making sense. And
He's
you
still
know
like the
that
la da da in the middle of the desert. Yeah, Joe.
going through like what 13 rounds of just exchanging blows, like I think that had more impact on the fight overall. So yeah, just I think with these kinds of shows, I was expecting like, oh, the final fight, like it should be going all out. But even then, like I was still pretty happy with how it went out.
Yeah, I totally get where you're coming from in that. What about you, Nusha?
Yeah, like last time I kind of mentioned how the fights themselves weren't necessarily like super intense or technical. They like tried to add a little bit more with like Yuri being a switch hitter and like the little meta game behind that, which I appreciated, but like I was kind of surprised to see that they just jumped to like the fourth round. But
Yeah.
another thing, yeah, someone in the chat was saying like I thought one or both of them were gonna die, and I think everyone did. Yeah, like during the final fight, like you saw like it started raining. Nambu just kind of started crying out of nowhere.
It
Every
wasn't out of
episode
nowhere,
ended.
man. It was beautiful.
Yeah, I know, but like
Come on.
every episode ended with like
He knew
dead
what the
something.
outcome was going to be.
Yeah, and so like I think everyone kind of expected a death in the ring, especially the show's pedigree linking back to Ashton no Joe.
Oh,
But
yeah, that was like infamously dark
yeah,
show. Yes.
exactly. And I don't know, I kind of like that no one died in the ring, because like the whole story is kind of like about growing out of your like pedigree. Like he was born in like this scrap town, and he like worked his way up, and like Nambu worked his way up from being this like stingy backyard scorpion type person, and like to kind of bypass that pedigree of like your old show, your old character died, and so now you have to die. Like I think it kind of fit thematically.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I did write up some thoughts that I wanted to make sure that I shared about my opinions about it. I mean, what I think I love most about it was the art. It really mimicked the style from the 90s. And so there's like this gritty, almost like rustic feel to it. And it was all supported by that incredible soundtrack that can't get enough of, because it's on, you can listen to it on YouTube and Spotify and other places as well. And that was kind of like my entire Friday was just listening to that. Even if some of the songs were like, all right, here's the vocal version, here's the instrumental version.
Yeah.
They didn't really do that. But like, so I totally get where you're coming from about the fights, because they weren't like nearly as intense as something from like Hajime no Ippo. But it definitely felt like, as you were saying, that it was way more about the characters than the box in itself, because it
Hmm.
was like an underdog story after all. And so, regardless, though, I thought the fighting still looked great with the very realistic looking impacts. Like every time they punched them, you could feel like this crunch, like the really sharp impact, like all the blows and all the damage that were being done to their bodies. So you could still sort of feel that they were going through hell on earth. Which is kind of funny, because in real boxing, after like 15 rounds, like they don't feel completely broken. In this show, it's like they're getting immediately black eyes and everything. So it just
Yeah, yeah.
goes to show what the gears we're doing to the bodies, because it's way more powerful than just the normal human punches that you'd expect. Um,
Hmm.
I would agree that some of my only complaints about the series was that, yeah, they don't really comment much on Joe's growth as a character. Like, it would have been nice if Yuri made some comments about, hey, man, I can tell you that you've really grown a lot since we last had an encounter. But no, they were just kind of boxing as always. There was that amazing counter Joe did at the end that they were kind of building up in the previous episodes, like how powerful that thing is. And so it would have at least been great to see they kind of just freeze framed it at that point when he was in the middle of the counter. And so if you looked at the timer, it looked like the match only had about 20-30 seconds left in the bout. And so you could totally see that that was definitely the final blow. But it would have been nice to see like maybe Yuri's reaction after waking up maybe from that knockout blow. So that would have been cool instead of just capping it off there. And the other complaint I had was that Yukiko, the president, she was having a bit of like this redemption arc the past few episodes where she's got like a human side to her. She's not all cold-hearted, business-only kind of person. She doesn't really get that satisfying conclusion that I was kind of hoping for. The fact that they use gears that could be used as military weapons, it felt like they kind of swept that under the rug a little bit because they went immediately back to the competition style of that. So, yeah, that's what I was thinking about as well. Someone in the chat's talking about how they down-res then re-up-res the animations. Oh yeah, so yeah, they kind of they I don't know how to explain this. Is that they took the style to it, maybe like boiled it down to its basics, and then just built it from there, and were able to accomplish that look. That's definitely what it felt like they were able to pull off there. So if anything, that's definitely the most appealing aspect of it, and I hope more shows use it.
I agree. Yeah, I love like sketchy experimental styles like in this and like Mob Psycho and Ping Pong the animation and that kind of stuff. Um, Commenting on like the thing you said about Joe, like I think you're right in that he kind of lacked a bit of development, but I feel like this was one of those stories where it's like you have this really influential character and then you kind of see how he develops like all the people around him. And so like I don't know, I kind of appreciated the fact that he was this like constant in the world and then everyone else just kind of grew as a result of interacting with him.
That's definitely what it felt like. And I think Deanna, you were speaking on the same lines.
Yeah, that made me wonder if they were ever going to do a second season, like would they keep Joe as the main character, um, to kind of just flesh him out a bit more,
Yeah.
or just start with a new cast.
I mean, clearly Yuri's not going to be boxing anymore because they even commented about the fact that in the middle of the fight, he just said that if he sat down, he wouldn't be able to get up again because of all the damage that's been done to his back from getting the gear equipment being taken out of like unfused from his body. And so that's obviously the impact is that now he's in a wheelchair and he can't function normally anymore, or as a boxer in any case. Yeah, Joe looks like he could still go, so I would be very shocked if they didn't use him as a main character again. If he had another reason to box, clearly he's a champion, so they'll do like a Hajime no Ippo season 2. They'll do something with it. We'll find out.
Yeah, they even mentioned like a second tournament near the end. I don't think they're gonna do a season 2, but like they even mentioned one. There's definitely like it's open ended.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. Just because it's such a great style to it, and Joe's such an awesome character that I think it'd be of a shame for them to like leave it the way it is. But it's bizarre because you got 13 episodes from a series that has been known for having like 50, 70 episodes, so it felt kind of jarring. But at the same time, at least they kept the pacing down throughout the entire show. So let's get to another show here, Golden Kamui. If that's how I pronounce it. Deanna, you wrap this up. This is the final episode this week as well.
Yeah, so they announced a second season that will premiere in October, so that's really exciting. I'm really happy about that. The ending was pretty nice because it just showed the group heading off on their continued journey to find the tattooed prisoners. And then we're getting more introductions to new characters, and one of them being like a woman because the cast is pretty much male dominant, but it was really nice to see like a grown woman aside from Ashiripa, the one pictured.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm just happy that they're gonna come back with another season.
Absolutely. I mean, it feels like, as you were talking about before, that a lot of the animation and the reactions sold the show, and so it feels like more of that might be exciting. And so
yeah, it definitely improved, and I'm happy I stuck with it, even though the beginning was kind of rough. But yeah, just all those humorous moments coupled with the serious plotline.
Yeah,
I feel like I
yeah,
should give
it's.
this a second shot.
I know you were talking about that you felt like it didn't capture the manga style to it, but apparently it got better.
It did, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I did not have a picture prepared for this, but Rio, bed and breakfast for spirits. That's not quite wrapped up yet, is it?
I think it's listed for 26 or 24 episodes.
Oh, okay. So it's gonna go
So
through the
it'll,
season, through the summer.
yeah, it'll go through summer.
Well, what'd you think about the story so far?
The story, I think, one of the, like, there's a new character, and I guess he's like the rival of the the inn master, and it kind of like left it off on this note where like, oh, the big bad guy's coming, he's in town, like y'all better be ready for it. So I was just like, okay. So looking forward to where that potential arc will go.
Okay, cool. That's I haven't watched any of it, but you know we were talking about before about how the style really sells it. So I can't really show that to the people on the stream because I don't have a picture prepared, like I said. But you know we talked about that last week, and I think that that's kind of the big draw for that is the visual style to it. So we'll hopefully find out. Now I guess I can take from here because Nusha only watched 2 shows, I guess, this week. Well,
Don't
technically
shame
3.
me.
I am sorry. It's you're surviving while the rest of us are kind of bogged down by anime, and this is the life we have. Oh my god! So I can talk about Giggy no Kitaro. So it's like I said before, is that this show is impressive in many respects. You're talking about a show that's existed from the '60s, is where it really began for the TV anime. And there's been about 5 or 6 different series so far, and this is obviously the most recent one. So it kind of reminded me in this most recent episode that this show can get pretty depressing, which is bizarre because this is also aimed towards kids. So I thought that was kind of weird. So the entire episode 14, which is of course the start of a new course, so it's going to go on for a bit, like that, like the show you mentioned, Deanna. So it's all about this man who is sort of down on his luck. His wife has left him, and you know his kid he can only see at certain times because his ex-wife took the kid away, and so he gets fired from his desk job, and he can't get a new one. I don't know if it's like this, like his age or whatever, because even like a guy at 7-Eleven is like, "Nah, we can't have you." And I'm like, "Holy crap! Okay, this is pretty bad." He just keeps screwing up. I guess they just don't like someone who's been fired from every job he's been at. That must be pretty clear. So what happens is that a bunch of adults, including this guy, are taken to this dream world where they can play as kids for eternity. And so the whole thing about this show is that they use a lot of like Japanese oni and spirits and urban legends and things like that. And so what happens is that Kitaro, the main boy, the main character of the show, he shows up, but he brings along with him this demon that can enter people's dreams and pull them out of it. And so when he tries to approach him, like it's Kitaro and Cat Chick and all these other characters and the man's son who found him the way he is, like he can't wake up, and the boy is obviously very disturbed about that. He misses his father so much, and so they try to like confront him inside the dream, and they obviously don't want to get out because they love the place that they're in, this kind of carefree place that they don't have to get bothered by all these other worries and concerns and you know, the stresses of real life. And so the biggest character here is the person on screen. She is the one that pulled them into this dream world, and so you know, she clearly tries to stop them. And funny enough is that the man who's down on his luck, he's apparently like this amazing artist that, you know, said, when I get older I'm going to become this amazing artist, but obviously that didn't work out. He couldn't make ends meet that way. So one of the things though is that in order to stop Kitaro, he draws like a Voltron looking robot to send after him. So it's like these childlike fantasies coming to life, which is kind of fascinating in itself. And the production values are still very impressive. It's clearly a thing about how this series has been around for decades because they treat it with a lot of reverence, a lot of respect. And so every episode, you can tell that they put a lot of work into it, a lot of money, and that's kind of why, like, so far, this has been a very fun show to watch, and it's been great in many respects. And it continues to sort of subvert your expectations. They don't try to play that safe, and the fact that they can go, so dark in some of the different ways they deal with it, I think that that's kind of made it such a fun watch. And so, people out there looking for like the supernatural anime that they should be watching, this is the one. This is the one. So that's been kind of my thoughts about that. So let's get back to Deanna. Rakuhoro Yatsuhiro Biori. I think this is the final episode, right, of the season.
Yeah, it's the final episode. It focused on the tea shop, the main cast. They're getting ready for New Year's, so they're thinking of like what to cook. But also, Sui, he's the one with the glasses. He has a twin brother who works in an office, and they're kind of estranged. They haven't talked in a while, but it showed a brief moment of them kind of having this moment where they talk it out for a bit. I mean, obviously it's not resolved yet, but yeah, it was a nice. It gave more emotional depth to the character. But overall, watching this show is very therapeutic. Just like kind of watching people cook comfort food, and seeing each character's dedication to their roles. So it's really relaxing, and I recommend it.
You could say it's comfort food. Anyway, yeah, I mean I think that's what I find slice of life anime so appealing, is because you just sometimes need that anime that you can really relax to, and it like they don't have too many stresses in real life to worry about that stuff. So, this seems like a kind of show I would probably really like watching. So I might have to binge it one of these days.
Mm-hmm.
So, before we get into Darling in the Franxx, let's talk about Sword Art Online Alternative. Oh my god. This show is ridiculous on so many levels. Like, you can just tell from the picture I chose. It's so bizarre. So the thing is that this is the last episode of the entire series. Of course, Sword Art Online, the new season kicks off this fall, and so this is the last one we'll get to see of these original characters. So it was bizarre because what they did is that they basically spent the entire season just to meet the climax was meeting Pito, who's this person in the game, of course. But everyone kind of guessed who Pito actually was, like maybe back on episode 2 or 3, because the reason Pito couldn't attend like the first tournament in this series is because there was another concert going on. It's like, yep, we kind of know it's the senior. So it was bizarre that they put so much on this one particular point. The crux of it all was just on this character. So while I do think that all the characters are vastly better than anybody in the original Sword Art Online, like that whole series, there was still kind of a disappointing end to it. And so, and especially because it went so over the top, so bizarre, like to the point when they were like cutting off hands, biting each other's necks to kill each other in this game. It's like, okay. I will say the best part of that episode is that the tournament ended in sort of a true Battle Royale PUBG fashion. I won't spoil what happens, but I just thought it was hilarious that this other team showed up. But it was so good, and I laughed so much that I think that kind of saved a good part of it for me. I will say that there are apparently 7 volumes of this light novel currently out, and the anime only adapted the first 3. So like they went through 2 squad jams, which is what these tournaments are, and they are currently on their 4th in the light novel. So they could definitely adapt it again. So I hope that they do, because there's definitely some appeal to it, and there's a lot of interest, at least that I have, in them exploring these characters further. I just hope that they don't get so over the top again, because it got really bizarre. That's all I can really say.
It's interesting you say there was like a lackluster like reveal, because I think I heard, I didn't watch the full season of like the original show, but when they got into that gun gale or whatever, I heard there was like another really like big letdown of a reveal, like the character who's killing people in the game and like people guessed like 2 episodes in who it was. Like it sounds like this is like a real mainstay problem the show has.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about the in the original Sword Art Online 2, the
Yeah.
reveal of the, I forget what his name, Deadeye. I already forget his name, but the guy in the cloak.
Dead gun.
Dead gun. He's got
Dark
got a
dead
gun
gun.
that deals dead. I don't.
A little redundant, but sure.
Yeah, his gun is dead. Yeah. I mean, I only watched halfway through that season, so I couldn't tell you my thoughts about the reveal. I actually honestly don't know who that could have been, because in my head, I still don't know. But I would say this, even then, like, this show is way better than that ever was. But yeah, that bite, the killing bite, she jumps up and rips her throat out. It was like, okay,
Jesus.
all right. And this is straight from the books as well.
Swords.
Yeah, it's stuff that definitely could not happen in a virtual reality game. You know, it's like how can you really tell? Like, if you were talking about virtual reality, it's like you would be like gnawing in the air. Like, imagine somebody like laying in their bed with the headset on, trying like biting their
crazy
teeth.
look in their eyes, just gnawing at the air.
Mom opens the door like, what the hell is my
What?
daughter doing?
He opens the door with like breakfast and slowly closes the door.
Or puts like a piece of toast, they bite it down. I don't know. It was you just see like just
2 birds, 1 stone.
it was so ridiculous. It was so ridiculous.
That's funny.
Yeah, but still though, the show is good. It ended with some Yuri antics, and so you know it kind of went down that road too. But it's one of those shows that the action scenes were good, so I still think it's worth a watch if you were into Sword Art Online. But I mean, I would still put it like a step above even that show. So at least there's that.
Yeah.
So
Do you plan
let's
on watching the other one?
Sword Art Online. Yeah,
The new one?
I do plan on catching up on that show because I still, you know, I still kind of like that show. You know, I'm not as hard on it as a lot of other people are. I still kind of like it. I don't like Kirito as a character at all, but the other characters kind of make up for it in some cases. So I'm kind of interested in that. Shinon, I don't know what's going to happen to her because she was mentioned a lot in this show, and she's the blue-haired girl, you know, the little blue-haired sniper girl. That was like the face of the original season. Yeah, the second season. So we'll see. We'll see about that. I guess I don't know. We'll find out. Dylan and the Franks. Now I feel very guilty, and I think Nushaw can agree with me that we did not actually watch past maybe a handful of episodes of this show. I assume it wrapped up, Deanna.
There's gonna be one more episode, which will be next week. So
I don't know.
The series does not want to end.
What'd you think about it? What'd you think about this episode then?
Oh, I really don't know what to tell you guys because it's so like I feel like the story has gotten so inconsistent, and then it kind of reminded me of Gurren Lagann where like they ended up in space. So
In space?
I don't want to say too much because that'll just be spoiler territory. But yeah, I'm just kind of like watching it just to see what happens at the end.
Oh man, you're gonna tell me that Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah. At this point, you're just in it for the ride. Like you got this far, might as well just finish it up, right?
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Well, there's an image that I've got, and it took me. You didn't want to get into it. I don't care about spoilers honestly, but if you feel like it's not worth explaining until you get to the last episode, it might be for the best. And so,
Yeah, I don't mind spoilers if you want to like talk about how inflated this plot has gotten.
So well that in that picture, 02, she's not actually there. Like her mind is in space.
Okay. All right.
I've heard enough.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. You can go on.
Yeah, so the group of kids, they're going in space and trying to save her. Her mind's like in the Franks. So
Is this like Eureka 7 or something like that? That's what it sounded like. They're like in this weird limbo.
I haven't seen that, but I mean, eventually 02 like becomes the Franks. So it's literally
Become the
Darling
Franks.
and the Franks. So yeah, that's
02 is the Frankfurter.
yeah.
That's what I was thinking, like some weird like hot dog. What? It's oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. No, that sounds like a trigger show. You know, it goes way over the top in that respect. Kind of like Gurren Lagann did towards the end of that show as well.
I feel like it can either like land really well or it can just like burn up if they try and heighten it the way they do. And I feel like this one just kind of burned up.
Yes, I am Gundam as well. That's also true. Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll move on from there, but obviously we'll talk more about it next week. Obviously, because it's still not over yet, and so I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are when that actually happens.
For sure.
Yes. To Be Heroine, isn't that also like an episode away at this point?
Yeah, so it's kind of weird that they capped it off at 7 episodes total, but I guess that explains why they kind of started the show late into the season. But right now, it's straying away from the fantasy element of the story and kind of focusing more on the parents because there's a lot of dark history among the parents of the characters that like affect the kids. So yeah, it's really dark, and I don't know how it's gonna end, but hopefully everyone is alive.
Okay. Wow. That sounds like it gets to be pretty dark. So.
Yeah, and the baby in the center, Hikaru, he kind of like somehow makes his way to um the girl's like real world, but like he takes over the girl's best friend's dad's body, who's like this fat chubby guy.
Okay.
And he's like trying to talk to the main girl, and he's kind of being creepy about it because like, oh, I'm here to save you and all that stuff, but she doesn't know who he is because like she sees him as her best friend's dad, so
Right.
it gets kind of weird.
Right. Yeah, that's. I mean, obviously, it sounds like it goes places with that. So, once again, there's one more episode of that before it ends, and so we'll hopefully hear more about that then. And let's go ahead and get into the last show then that we can talk about, My Hero Academia. So, before we get into the most recent episode, I just want to kind of. I didn't actually get to watch episode 50, and so I watched that this morning. So I just wanted to quickly say that, you can't really blame Deku's mom for worrying the way that she did, because obviously going through all those stresses, even Deku said like he didn't really think about her feelings on these matters, because if you think about it, Deku is all that she has, because the father is not really in the picture. So I thought that was kind of a very touching moment, because too many times it's like they kind of disregard the family's feelings. I'm glad that they keep bringing that back. This show is way more three-dimensional than a lot of its other shoujo type of shows out there, because they kind of like take all these other side characters and disregard them completely and just focus in on just a few of them. This show likes to really focus on all these different sort of elements to bring it all together, and I think that's made it such an appealing show to watch. Like, it's way more than your typical shoujo, as I said, and I think that's why I kind of want to stick with it more, and I feel so engaged with what the show's trying to do. I'll also say, Bakugo's mom. I love how she's unapologetic and blunt, and she's probably one of the most famous characters, and so I think that's funny that she finally showed up in this series. In
she's
episode
instantly become a fan favorite.
I think that she was before, and then obviously she's even bigger now. And I just like the fact that she keeps like smacking Bakugo at the back of the head. I thought that was hilarious. So Nusha, what'd you think about this most recent episode?
I really liked it. It was kind of like a nice wind down because Heroes definitely got this like formula where they got like a dark arc and then like a school arc and then another dark one, then a school one, and so moving from like this big All Might fight into like the next arc, which I think is the pro license exam.
Yes.
They need like this little wind down episode, and them moving into the dorms is just like a great way to do that. And also, like you mentioned, this series does a really good job of fleshing out its side characters as opposed to just sticking to its main dude. And this was definitely an episode where you kind of got to see a little more characterization for like every character with like the
rooms.
Reveal of their dorms and their rooms and what they're all about. There was also that scene that is going to fuel fan art for months between Kirishima and Bakugo.
Yes.
And the shippers are going to have a field day with that one. So it was a lot of good characterization for everyone. One thing I wasn't crazy about was the little conversation they had with Tsuyu at the end. I don't know. It felt a little forced, like especially coming off the heels of this amazing scene with like his mom and like All Might apologizing to her, and this, like you said, it was really well written, really emotional, understandable. And then here you just kind of have this scene. I don't know. In my eyes, it seemed a little forced. Like the reaction just wasn't. I don't know. As it just kind of seemed like melodrama, just like a cheap way to flesh out CU. I don't know. What did you guys think?
Well, I feel the opposite. I actually
Yeah.
really love that scene because you have CU who's like she was really, really concerned about what her friends thought of her, despite her saying that they were like villains for breaking the rules. And it didn't seem like she was really sorry for it. She was like she still stuck to what she thought, but she still wanted them to know how she felt and that she still wants to be friends with them and to laugh and smile. So yeah, I don't know. I really liked that moment.
Yeah.
I guess I liked it, or I guess I see that, but I don't know. I never saw it as like her jeopardizing their friendship. Like I never saw it as that extreme, but I can definitely see why people would like it.
I mean,
Maybe I'm just
that's exactly what Deanna was talking about. Is that she obviously felt very awful because she basically said, "Hey, you shouldn't help them," and they go out and end up helping them, and so she feels really bad that she tried to convince them not to do it because Bakugo's life was in danger and he could have died or been taken away, of course, to the dark side. But so the fact that she was trying to stop them, speaking frankly, and she even said that so much is that she speaks her mind, but she doesn't always think about other people's feelings that much, and she felt awful that she was doing that and like not worthy of being around them. If the fact that she almost she did all this stuff to stop them and they ended up doing the right thing, and she felt like she was the odd person out, not trying to do her best to help them. And so I can tell why she was really broken up about that, and that she felt very distant to them. And since it was bugging her so much, she really wanted to approach them about that. And I think that's also important because despite the fact that this episode felt like kind of like a lighthearted slice of life type of episode, a way to, like as you said, sort of let off on the pressure valve of the feelings that were going into this episode. This was also an aspect of, once again, developing providing that important character development, some nice levity to the show, to show that these characters aren't so cold-hearted at times. They're also, or like they're not so innocent. They have all these emotions that they go through. Sue is not just. Sometimes Sue does come across as a little bit too, blunt. I would say, a little too. I wouldn't say cold, but she's she doesn't seem as developed, and this has helped a lot with her character, I think. So I thought that was an important part of it of the episode. I will also say, fuck Mineta. I think he's a terrible character, and every episode I hate him more and more and more. I think he's awful. Like, legitimately, I think he's an asshole, and I just hate him so much. Like, legitimately hate him.
This
One
is like
of the worst characters ever.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely a weak point in the writing is like you get this gag character who's supposed to be like funny and quirky, and it's just like he comes off as just a little too creepy and pervy, and you just kind of hate him. Like they even had that moment where they tried to like develop him a little bit in that fight with Midnight in the final exam. And I was just like, I don't care. I don't want a little more of this like pervy great boy. I don't want to hear more about him.
Pervy great boy. That's exactly it. Like he's like I'm gonna go like rummage through people's stuff. I'm only around like the women. Oh, bathrooms, laundry. It's like, okay, all right, guy.
Like wafting the smell. I was like, oh, that's a little too much.
I mean, there's definitely like famous characters in anime that are like womanizers, but at this point, like that's just all the character has going for him. Like there's nothing appealing at him whatsoever that would make you cheer for him in any part. Like every time he's in a scene, you just feel like, oh, I wouldn't mind if he gets killed or something. Like if I don't mind being awful about it, but that's just I can't stand his character whenever he's on screen. I don't know about you guys, but boy.
You have all these like great characters from the other class, and yet Mineta somehow gets into their class.
How?
Yeah, how did he get into this?
How did he get in?
You have a dude who can control people.
Is it nepotism?
And then you have this dude who just rips balls out of his hair and like a super perv, and he makes it into like this big prestigious hero class. I don't really know how it works.
Oh my god. I mean, if anybody wants to defend his character, please leave him in the comments. But boy,
Fight me.
I just can't believe anybody would support him as like a #1 character. Like anyone who's like, yeah, he's my favorite one. It's like, how?
Why?
Why? Because like there's other characters that have those traits, of course, but like he's just, that's just the only dimension to him. It's just, straight up womanizer. It's kind of awful. And misogynistic and just all these things. It's I just don't know, man. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
who's
You
the?
also you have so many characters that just make better like gag characters. You know, like you
Yes.
have like Aoyama, like the French dude who's all about looking
Oh,
like
dazzling.
dazzling
He's
and
like, I'm
gleaming. You
brilliant.
have I'm forgetting her name, the Invisible Girl. I don't remember her
Invisible Girl.
Yes,
name. I
that's
think
her
that's her
character.
name. And you know, they make for such great like gag, funny characters, lighthearted, and like there's just no real reason to have Mineta around.
No, no. I wouldn't mind if he just goes away forever. That'd be okay. And it's not just because of the traits of his character, but the fact that that's all he is makes it worse.
Yeah.
So, uh, yeah. I think we can all agree, Minotaur, just go away. So that's kind of the recap of this past week. Of course, it's kind of funny because there's shows that are premiering today, like Hanibado premiered today. Island also did, and so next week we'll have new stuff to talk about. I need to watch that show because yeah, that went up about a couple hours ago. Hanibado, which is that badminton show. So
I'm excited for it.
yes, I can't wait because that first episode looks super intense. Okay, can't wait.
Mhm.
And so the last part we're gonna do for this episode, as we said before, we're going to recap the first 2 episodes of Trigun. As I mentioned last week, we all agreed to watch this show throughout its entire series, and so we started off watching the first 2 episodes. So anybody out there, if you want to follow along, just it's really convenient that you can actually catch either the English dub or the Japanese version on Funimation's YouTube or their website completely free. And so you don't have to worry about paying money for the Blu-rays or anything like that. Just watch it and follow along and have a conversation with us about it. I'm sure there are plenty of people out there who've already seen the show, but maybe you need a refresher or something like that. So let's get right into it. Can we first talk about how awesome the theme music is?
Oh my god, I loved it. Yeah, like immediate like vibes of like Cowboy Bebop and like Western like influence. I don't know. I really liked it. I had a good time with the opening, even though it was just like a lot of glamour shots of him holding his gun in cool positions.
Yeah,
Like,
it's just him running around like being the coward that
yeah,
he is.
not much going on visually, but like the song is amazing.
Yes, yes. Deanna.
Yeah, just those guitar moments and being an opening without vocals, like it's still a bop.
Yeah, no, and the ending theme music is great as well. But yeah, like the whole soundtrack really fits that Western theme well. And the whole like '90s anime style is there's something just so darn appealing about that. Just seeing like those gunmen in the first episode tear up the bar was just such an amazing
Yeah.
sight because they were like tearing up the different pieces of glass, the tables, the walls. I mean, it's the show, of course, still looks it looks a bit dated now, just based on the style. Like if they were showing on the YouTube or the Funimation site, like if that's like the Blu-ray, it doesn't really look like they remastered too much of it, so that's kind of a shame. But it still looks really good, and you can tell that there's definitely already these characters in the show. There's something really appealing about them, and it's really going to grow from here.
Yeah, like I really appreciate like the '90s aesthetic, and I don't know. I kind of like the gritty look it's got going for it. It's kind of nice to go back and like appreciate
Sorry for some
oldies
really
like
sad
this.
talks. My backside. Go ahead.
But yeah, especially that scene you were talking about, where they were just like tearing up that bar, and you just kind of saw like the tables and the chairs like disintegrating. Like you rarely see that kind of like attention anymore. You just kind of see like large explosions and CG and stuff like that. To see this was really refreshing, so I appreciated it.
I was surprised by how funny the episodes were and how
Yes.
fast he was like, he seems like a huge threat and all, but then he has this funny side to him where he doesn't really take anything seriously, and all of his facial expressions are reminiscent of 90s anime character. Like,
Yeah.
funny faces.
That's definitely the case. Yeah, it feels like I mean, he's the only reason he has a big bounty on his head is because he's so cowardly that he managed to survive anytime people come across him. So that's like this weird dimension of like the mixing action with comedy in such a way that it's kind of like once again like Cowboy Bebop. Like there's something very appealing about that character. And I don't know about you guys, but like in the first episode I decided to listen to it in English. Which was kind of interesting because you had Johnny on Bosch as the voice of Bash. I don't know why, but in my head I thought it was Steve Blum, just like Spike from Cowboy Bebop. I was like, this deeper, more resonant voice, but it's Johnny on Bosch. I'm like, oh god, this is.
I didn't expect that.
Yeah, he's been in so many shows. People don't know he's
Yeah.
like the main voice of Renton from Eureka 7, and just a bunch of different shows.
A
Former
living
Blockbuster.
anime protagonist.
Yes, he's been in pretty much everything. Arno Surge. He's just been in so many shows. But then I switched over to the Japanese version, episode 2, and you have Masaya Onosaka, who's the voice of Sendo from Hajime Ippo and Kerberos from Cardcaptor. So I immediately, I think he sold the role way more than Johnny on Bosch did. Clearly, because he's been in anime way longer than Johnny on Bosch was. But like, I think he did a way better job in trying to sell that character. And then the other voices as well, because I think Meryl and Millie are immediately amazing characters, and they're the two girls that run up from the insurance company. So you got Millie Satsuki Yukino, who's Kagome from Inuyasha. And then you got Hiromi Suru, rest in peace, the voice of Bulma from Dragon Ball. And so like they are such great characters, backed by amazing voices. I mean, I will say at least that the English dub was great as well. But I think that, you know, when I switched to Japanese, just like they've got such strong talent there that I enjoyed it way more that way. And I did like a lot of the scenes, like the first episode, of course, was about the fact that Vash has been discovered by this gigantic bounty hunter dude, and then he comes across like basically there's like this fight between this other bounty hunter that everyone's confused about who the actual Vash is, Vash the Stampede, and then they get into this big fight, and you just really get to see that side of the character of Vash, who's just like this huge coward.
Yeah, I really like the first episode. The thought of like 3 people vying to see who's the real Vash the Stampede was like a really nice gag that I appreciated. They're also definitely, is he supposed to be like a coward? Like I feel like he's supposed to be this like crazy badass, and I'm excited for like the big cathartic reveal when it finally like comes to light. But I've never seen the show, so I don't really know.
I mean, it definitely feels like that there's a side of that to him, because you could tell from some of the characters, but it seems like he only got serious when like a woman was in danger. So it definitely feels like that's his character. There's definitely that running gag where no one knows who the actual Vash is. Like he's a big mystery. Clearly in the second episode they're already catching on to it. But that seems like that's going to be the thing throughout the entire series, is that he's not like walking around calling himself Vash, is that he's taking on these different roles that people think he might be, but it's clearly because he's got that gigantic bounty on his head. He doesn't want to be killed, so I can see why that's the case. Considering the show gets better, I assume that his character gets more dimension like that. So
yeah, based on like the ending little teaser for the third episode, like it sounds like they're gonna get into his backstory, and we're gonna get a little more of a fleshed out Vash the Stampede. So I'm excited to see that.
What do you think, Deanna?
I kind of want to go back to the voice acting, like for the Japanese. Like, were you guys bothered by the fact that Millie's voice was so high pitched despite her size?
I thought that was
like
hilarious. Yeah.
I think it adds a little bit to her character. She's like this big, imposing woman with like this giant Gatling gun, and she's got this super dainty, feminine voice.
It's a gentle giant, as you were.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I really like that we have a good amount of female characters in the show, despite it being like very nitty gritty. You have Meryl and Millie, who are pretty active as disaster investigators, working for an insurance company, which sounds kind of weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really like that. And then with the second episode, we find out Marianne, she's the marshal, so that's really awesome.
Yeah, it's great that they're not like, I think we're already seeing this is that they're not shoehorning people into certain roles like the the very traditional style anime. It's that you can definitely have female marshals. You can definitely have like these badass women who carry around giant guns all this time. I think that's like one of the most appealing aspects. I think that we'll appreciate more as the show goes on is that not every role is sort of like this predetermined textbook style of presenting those characters. It's that they can be this really hard-strung character trying to survive in the West, and I think that's going to be one of the more fascinating aspects, like I mentioned. So, but I do agree, Mero and Millie, they're a great contrast to each other. Millie, once again, like this gentle, large-sized woman who's got a strong heart, and then you got Meryl, who's like this feisty character as well, but she's also bullheaded as well. And it's kind of funny seeing that part, like some of the aspects, like in the Japanese version, he's like bash, she's like I got your heart, and it shoots, and then she's like ah and falls over. it's so over the top. But even if it's over the top, like you definitely feel like there's some grounding there, and like you said, hopefully we get to learn more about Bash's character. I mean, I'm sure we will. In the third episode and going forward, it's going to be fascinating to see how these characters grow.
The gun designs are also over the top.
Yes. Like, what the heck is that design of that Millie's gun? Like, it's just this weird Gatling gun, but it's got like a handle to it.
You also got the guy with the big mechanical boomerang.
And the guy with like the cross for a gun.
I thought that was super cool. Yeah. When I saw how he actually used it, I was like, oh.
Yeah, and he does kind of like his character just kind of. I thought he was going to be like a long running character because I was looking up some of the different characters. I'm like, oh, he doesn't. That's it. That's just all. He's only in that one episode, I guess. Yeah.
I kind of like that though. He comes off as this like crazy badass, and then he's just kind of taken out. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's a nice little subversion.
He's not meant to be like that, but I mean, it seems like based on the designs of the characters going forward, we're going to be seeing a lot more important characters coming up, a lot more interesting people, and so I'm excited to see how this goes. So far, what's been your feelings about this so far, guys? You feeling pretty strong about choosing this as our show that we're going to look back on?
Yeah, I'm really happy.
Sorry.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm actually really happy. This is one I've been meaning to check off my list for a while, and the first 2 episodes weren't super plot heavy, but it was a nice little setup, and it's kind of got me excited for more. So I'm looking forward to it.
I can see something like this contrast, like this correlation between this like in Desert Punk, which I'm also a big fan of. It's obviously it's also set in the West, but it's also got like really funny main character. So I'm excited to see where things go from here as well. So that's kind of it for this episode. We're trying to, focus just on the shows that we really want to talk about. Once again, this upcoming week already got some anime premiering. A bunch of different shows are wrapping up here, but we'll still be talking about that. And so we'll be here once again next Sunday with another episode. Actually, I don't know if we will be because Anime Expo is next Sunday as well. We might not be able to do an episode. We'll try to do something, but want to once again thank Deanna and New Shelf being a part of this, the episode 2 of Anime Review. We'll be back here next time, though. Everyone out there on Twitch chat, thank you for watching as well, and everyone for listening. Catch us next time for another edition of Anime Review. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
I had a dry mouth for a second there.
Me the entire time.
Oh my god. All right.
I'm like worried you heard like the entire time.
I like this big old cup of coffee, this iced coffee.
Same.
I need that in my life. Yeah, thanks, chat. Yeah. Thank you, 1 Foot Stout. Thank you, W Matthew. I saw the chats here. Yeah, and I do agree about the arcs that they were kind of bouncing around. Like it was like dark, super dark, way more darker. Let's pull it back.
That's kind of especially why they needed that wind down episode. So it was a nice little change of tone.
Exactly, they definitely needed that, and I'm really glad I caught up with you guys. It's been so nice. It's been so nice. Yeah, I should probably go watch Hanabado and see what it is. Yeah, huh? I'm surprised they didn't just call it Badminton the Show and Crunchyroll because they always chose like the weirdest English names for their shows, but I guess they stuck with it. So I don't know. Probably get some lunch as well. So yeah, we'll end this stream though. But yeah, everyone else, thank you for coming out here. See you guys.